Oh, it's so bright today. Okay. How are we going to do this? Let's do this again. I don't have my glasses on yet. I've literally been awake for like 10 minutes. Hi. So, it is 2019, as we are all aware. 10 years ago, and it actually is almost pretty much 10 years to like the month, I read a little book at the time called Twilight. And as what has happened with most people, it took over my life, and obviously if you were around back in the day, you were aware of the Twilight mania that swept the planet. And Twilight's a weird one because it sort of came out of nowhere, took over for a bit, and then just vanished, and no one really talks about it anymore except to like make fun of it. But I was obsessed. Like, I cannot explain to you just how obsessed I was. I started making YouTube videos as my obsession was ending, so no one ever really saw it.
Until now. Hi, this is future me.
When we were 5, they asked us what we wanted to be when we grew up.
Away from breaking dawn. I'm grabbing cuts again.
So I loved Twilight back in the day. I first read Twilight like 10 years ago. I never really reread it. Like, I used to reread Eclipse a lot because Eclipse was my favourite one, but I never like fully reread the whole series since reading it for that first time 10 years ago. And last night, and weirdly enough, Forks, the place, keeps popping up in my life. Like, people I know are going, people I know have been there, people I know keep talking about it. I've had 2 dreams about Forks. Oh, the sun's gone down, look at that. I've had 2 dreams about Forks in the past month. Why? Don't know. Everyone keeps talking about me watching it because it went on Netflix. So like, the Twilight just keeps popping up in my life. And I was sorting through my bookshelves the other day, and I still don't have it in me to get rid of Twilight. Like, it's still on my shelf with all of the bonus books and extra content that I bought. And I just thought, I'm going to reread it. I'm going to reread this series, you know, because it's not like I've got a massive TBR or some crap like that on, you know. I've got time to reread the books I've already read. And I just want to see it. I just want to see what I think of Twilight now. Like, I know what I think of Twilight now. I have rewatched the films plenty at a time, and they're very good background films, you know, they're very good to like have on in the background if you're like cleaning or something. But I've not reread them, and I want to reread them and document that process and just see how I feel about Twilight 10 years later. That's not in focus at all, but there is the Twilight Saga. So I'm going to do this, I'm going to document it. I've got some time today, I'm going to start them today. Yeah, I want to see how long it will take, because like, I read them the first time in like a week. Like, it really didn't take me that long. Like, how much is like 500 pages? Okay, let's do this. Twilight. I'd never given much thought to how I would die, but dying in the place of someone I loved seemed like a pretty good way to go. Okay, that's the film. This is different. Okay, bye. When I was 15, 14, when I read this, I properly related to sometimes. No, I didn't relate well to people my age. Maybe the truth was that I didn't relate well to people, period. Even my mother, who I was closer to than anyone else on the planet, was never in harmony with me, never on exactly the same page. Sometimes I wondered if I was seeing the same things through my eyes that the rest of the world was seeing through theirs. Maybe there was a glitch in my brain. So dramatic. But when I was a teenager, I was like, yeah, I'm not like other people. God, I hate everything. Also, I totally forgot that Charlie is the chief of police. But like, Charlie's the best character in Twilight. Like, he's the best. He's the best one. Also, I haven't got my glasses on, and I thought it would be okay because I'm reading quite close, but I am blind. I'm actually watching Twilight as well. Like, it's on the screen, like Netflix. And like, it's like pretty much bit for bit happening as well.
You're looking good.
Well, I'm still dancing. I'm glad you're finally here.
I love Taylor on his
Charlie
wig.
hasn't shut up about it since you told me you were coming.
Oh, we've just got into the shiny Volvo. I always told myself my first car would be that car. It wasn't. I didn't end up getting a Volvo. Although actually, when I was 14, I wanted my first car to be a truck. But like, people don't tend to drive trucks in England like as much as like America, to be fair. Like, unless they're like, I mean, to be fair, I grew up in a very like farmy town, so I guess I could have gotten a truck and it wouldn't have looked too out of place, but like, I didn't get a truck in the end. That was not my first car. Nor did I get a Volvo. Sad. Oh my god, I just remembered the stupid shiny Volvo owner line. Oh, I love it. She talks about how in Forks PE is mandatory all 4 years, and how Forks is her literal personal hell on earth. And I mean, it's very dramatic, but I relate to that. When I was in school, it was only mandatory for a bit, and then you could choose it if you wanted, and I didn't choose it. I actually was able to, like, it was really cool. It was like you could choose it in school. Like, I had to do it for 3 years mandatory, and then for the last like 2 years of like actual like my GCSE years, I could choose it to do in school, or I could have a free period and either use that period to study or leave school and go and do an exercise that I did in my own time. So I always used to go swimming because that was better than like running around the track, you know? That's not relevant, but I just related to that because like mandatory exercise when it's exercise I don't want to do is just not fun, so I actually relate to Bella. 14-year-old me would be proud. Good morning, it is day 3 of reading Twilight. I read some last night, but I read it in the bath, and then by the time I got out of the bath it was like an update. I was absolutely knackered, so I didn't update last night, but I am going to update now. I'm on page, where did I get to? 97. Like, Edward's so annoying. Like, he's just like being told, like, if I'm going to hell, I'm going to do it thoroughly, and like, we shouldn't be friends, but I'm going to be your friend anyway. And I'm just like, dude, like, why are you just being so annoyingly cryptic? Like, if you want to be her friend, just be her friend and stop being so like weirdly annoying. Like, come on. So Charlie Swan remains a superior Twilight character. But yeah, Bella's about to find out that Edward is a vampire. She just fainted doing blood testing in biology, which I like definitely would also do. It's just so funny, like, she's so like, I'm not like other girls, and it's hilarious because when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, I was like, I so relate to that, and now I'm just like, for God's sake, shut up. But it's an interesting, fun time rereading this. I am doing some work now, and then I'm going to hopefully read some more around lunchtime and get a couple more chapters in before I have to go to my not at home work, because I work from home in the mornings and then I go to work in the afternoons. Also, look at my old interests repping my new interests. Peter Parker. Although it is weird because they're probably talking about, like, when did this come out? It's probably like Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker, but you know, all good. Hi, I zoomed in. I am getting some reading in before I head to work today, and I completely forgot that Jacob had sisters. Like, I just completely forgot that piece of information, and if someone had asked me, I'd have been like, he is an only child, but of course he's not. He has Rachel and Rebecca. So that was fun to learn. Also, I find it hilarious that, like, Bella's like, hi Jacob, can you just tell me these stories about the treaty, and like the Cullens are in town and they live in town and they're like, they think that their secret is safe, but then she bumps into a wolf, like she bumps into Jacob and he's like, oh yeah, they're vampires, lol. Like, it's just so funny that he's just like, yeah, guess what, and literally just violates the treaty and finds it. He's like, oops, guess I just spilled some secrets. It's like, hey, you did. I do love him though, he's so funny, but I am about to read it. Also, Bella's like annoying. She's like, all these guys like me and I'm very aware of it now, and I'm not like all the other girls, and it's just like, Bella, chill please, like, hun, it's not cute to be, I'm not like all the other girls, because like, what even is another girl, do you know what I mean? But yeah, I've got to go to work in a bit. I had a meeting this morning and I did some stuff that I do at home when I work from home, but I've got to go to like physical work in a bit, so I'm probably going to have time to read one more chapter and then I'm gonna head out. So she's just come to the decision that if Edward is a vampire, she's just going to be his friend still. Like, she's like, lol, he's a vampire, but he's also got hypnotic eyes, so I'm gonna get to know him. Does she have any sense of self-preservation? Like, any at all? Really, Bella? Really? Making decisions was the painful part for me, the part I agonised over. But once the decision was made, I simply followed through, usually with relief that the choice was made. Sometimes the relief was tainted by despair, like my decision to come to Fox, but it was still better than wrestling with the alternatives. So she made a decision. She's made the decision to be his friend, but which is better than to wrestle with the alternatives, like leave him alone and don't die. Do you know what I mean? It's just, why is she like this? I'd forgotten about Bella's V-neck blue, V-neck blouse, the one that Edward loves so much. I've also just been reminded about the dazzling. I think I used to have a sticker on with I dazzle you, or you dazzle me, or do I dazzle you, or something on it. Well, Edward dazzles me. Oh dear. Hi! Twilight update! So I woke up at 4 AM because my asthma is being a little bitch today. And I literally have been struggling to breathe, so I actually read a lot today. So I've dog-eared loads of pages to talk about. So the first thing I did, it was this page. is that on page 171, 9 chapters in, Bella is in love with Edward. Like, she's very aware that he's a vampire and, like, he wants to kill her, but she's in love with him so soon. And I was like, oh, hun, like, you're so young and it's so soon. And, like, just, you know, think about it for a bit. Also, it's really interesting because I am enjoying reading it. So, like, it's bad. It's not as good as I thought it was when I was a teenager, right? It is very problematic and questionable and talks about lots of things that, like, are just bad. You know, it's just, it says some things which I don't agree with. One of those is Bella talking about how on ice, like, she's clumsy, she's so clumsy, she's practically disabled. Really? I know this, like, really? Are we really gonna make that, like, link? Are we gonna use disabled? Like, really? Stephanie? No, we're not gonna do that. As someone that has a disability, I just wasn't the best comment or comparison to make. Cool, so I have just gotten to chapter 13 where they're about to go into, they're in the forest and she's just seen him sparkly, which is fun, which is all good. Yeah, like I said, it's a weird one because obviously when I was 14 years old, 14-year-old me was obsessed with Twilight, like actually obsessed, and I didn't, like, it's obviously not as good as 14-year-old me thought. I'm clearly like, no, but I'm not hating it with every fibre of my being. Like, it's bad, don't get me wrong, but I'm not having a bad time, if that makes sense. Like, it's a bad book, but I'm not having a bad time reading it. I'm actually reading it really quickly and enjoying it. At this point, like I said, I read a lot of chapters this morning. To be fair, I'm gonna go and get in the bath, and probably will finish it tonight. Let's be real, I'm over halfway. So that's what I'm gonna go do, and I will update you. I'll update you afterwards. Really interesting because I'm remembering little things like Jacob and Billy saying sure, sure, like that was so, like that was such a thing, you know, like such a thing, and like, do I dazzle you, and like these like comments which I've totally forgotten about, but at one point in my life were things I said. Do you know what I mean? Like, I tried to incorporate sure, sure into my daily vernacular. So yeah, it's just an interesting one. But yeah, I'm not having like a bad time reading it, but they're not the best books. Do you know what I mean? I'm very intrigued to see what I think of New Moon when I get onto New Moon, because New Moon was always my least favourite one, I think it went Eclipse, Twilight, Breaking Dawn, New Moon, but then I think when I think about it, Breaking Dawn is so wrong. So I think I'm going to enjoy New Moon a lot more this time around, but let's see. I've got to finish this one first, but hopefully I can finish it today. Hi. I look wonderful. No, I'm waiting for this to like harden, and I'm reading as I'm doing that. So I was like just reading a little bit more before I got ready for bed and got in the shower, and it got to the bit where Edward shows Bella that, like, what he looks like in the sun, and like, I just don't understand why they sparkle. Why do the vampires sparkle? So I posted it on Instagram. I got a message saying that on Stephanie Meyer's website, shout out Becca for this message, on Stephanie Meyer's website she like had this explanation, but it still doesn't really say like why. So it says, vampires are physically similar enough to their human origins to pass as humans under some circumstances. There are many basic differences. They appear to have skin like ours, albeit very fair skin. The skin serves the same general purpose of protecting the body. However, the cells that make up their skin are not pliant like our cells. They're hard and reflective like crystals. Why? A fluid similar to the venom in the nails works as a lubricant between the cells, which makes movement possible. Note this fluid is very flammable. A fluid similar to the same venom lubricates their eyes, so their eyes can move easily in their sockets. However, they don't produce tears because tears exist to protect the life from damage, and nothing's going to be able to scratch a vampire's eye. The lubricant venom in the eyes and skin is not able to infect a human the way saliva venom can. Similarly, throughout the vampire's body, there are versions of venom-based fluids that retain a marked resemblance to the fluid that was replaced, and function in much the same way and towards the same purpose. Though there is no venom replacement works precisely like blood, many of the functions of blood are carried on in some form. The nervous system also works in a slightly different but heightened way. Some involuntary actions like breathing continue in the specific example because vampires use the sense in the air much more than we do. Other involuntary actions like blinking don't exist because there's no purpose for them. The normal reactions of arousal are still present in vampires, made possible by venom-related fluids. So, like, that still doesn't tell me why, though. Like, it doesn't tell me why they sparkle. Like, why would they sparkle? Even if it was, like, crystal. Like, why? I just don't understand. And then I got another message from someone else, which made me laugh. And it was like, I think I remember Stephanie saying in an interview that it's fantasy, so she can do whatever, so why not? And it's like, but there still has to be rules. There still has to be, like, a rule system to the world. Like, if you create a fantasy world, there still has to be rules. It can't just be a free-for-all fantasy world. Like, oh my god, this book is stressing me out. And probably won't read any more tonight, but yeah, there we go. Fun time.
So finished Twilight. Here it is. Here is the Twilight Saga. This is the Twilight Saga. My thoughts on the first one. So my first thoughts, since I read some more, so basically I read a lot last night in the bath, and I just went to bed because I'm not feeling fab. And then today I just finished it, and it's annoying because the backstories of the Cullens, the most interesting stories are not Edward and Bella. So, like, we go into the one chapter to find out about Carlisle, and I'm like, this is exciting. Like, he's from the 1600s, and like all of this, and blah blah blah, and it's wonderful. And then Edward's like, oh, Carlisle's like, I need to go now. You have to tell the story. And I'm like, I don't want Edward to tell the story. I want Carlisle to tell the story. I want Carlisle to tell me what happened in the 1600s. Like, why? What? The action literally is like the last couple of chapters. Like, nothing really happens in the rest of the book. Like, they fall in love really quickly, and Edward's a vampire and all that jazz. And also, Bella is way too chill about the fact that Edward watched her sleep, and it's also very weird that he watches her sleep. And also, there was like a really weird line, and it's just bizarre. But anyway, and then it's weird. So the action starts and it like kicks off, and like when Bella's saying to Charlie that she wants to leave, why does she know what Renee said to Charlie when she left? Like, that's the conversation. Like, you could say like, I left and stuff, and obviously Bella knows that her mum and dad are divorced and all that jazz, but why would she know the exact words that Renee said? That's just like a really savage thing to tell your daughter that you said. Like obviously the James situation, drama. I read The Life and Death, the like Twilight Reimagined one, and it was better than this because it does make sense for Bella to have changed into a vampire then, and that's what was going to happen. That was what originally was going to happen. I feel sorry for Charlie because this is like a long list of shit he's got to deal with because of Edward Cullen. I didn't like have the worst time reading it, and it's better written than I thought it was going to be. There are, like, she does write well in some circumstances, but in other circumstances it's a bit weird, and she adds in some weird bits. And there was a really weird bit where Edward calls Jacob a child, and then Bella's like, he's not much younger than me, and then he's like, oh, I know, and smirks, and I'm like, that's a bit of a weird thing to say, isn't it? It's just a bit strange. And, you know, perfectly okay with Edward like stalking her in her sleep and all of this stuff. But yeah, like I enjoyed seeing all the Cullens. I love Esme, and I liked seeing like her talking and stuff. So I didn't like completely hate it. I'm gonna start New Moon tonight probably, because I want to get through them quick. Like I don't want to spend too much time reading them. New Moon was always my least favourite when I first read them, so I'm interested to see what I think of it and what like that situation is. So that'll be interesting if I like it more now as an adult, or if it's still my least favourite. So hey, I just got out of the shower and I was thinking about Twilight, which is an odd shower thought, but I was thinking about it and I was just thinking like, Bella's so dramatic. Like, she, like, at the end when she's in the hospital, he's like, oh, she's like, change me into a vampire, like, you are the most important thing in my life. Like, this guy she's known, like, 5 freaking minutes is the most important thing in her life. Not her mum, not her dad, not her stepdad. Like, this guy, like, it's just so extreme. Like, it's so extreme. And also, like, Edward, I don't remember him, like, you can see the hesitation in him at the end of the book. Like, he was gonna leave. Like, he didn't really want to stay, and Bella's like, he's not promising, and blah blah blah, and stuff like that. So, like, you can sort of, it sets up for New Moon, because he's obviously, like, not thinking that he wants to stay, like, at all. And then, what was the other thing I thought of? Oh, like, Alice's visions, like, they just don't really make sense. Like, Bella makes that decision, like, as soon as she's on the phone to James. Like, did she not see James call? Like, why is her vision so subjective? I know it's because things change and blah blah blah, but like, James made a decision to call Bella, and that was a decision that he made, and if she's tracking James and she's looking at the decisions that he is making, it doesn't make sense that, you know, like, it just doesn't really make sense. But that's okay. I'm gonna watch some more of Euphoria because it's on Sky Atlantic now, and then I'm gonna start New Moon. Hey, so I actually have read like a lot of New Moon. Well, it feels like I've read a lot of New Moon. It's not ending. It's just continuous, and I haven't been able to update. I've really not been feeling well. But I've dog-eared some pages to tell you. Oh, Bella being like, but like Edward staying over, and then she's like, but I didn't feel too guilty for deceiving him, as in Charlie. It wasn't as if we were up to anything he wouldn't want me to be up to. Edward and his rules. Like, hun, like, he could kill you. Why? Like, you could literally die. So, like, why doesn't she listen? Do you know what I mean? Edward is so dramatic in this. Like, I just don't understand why. Like, there's just, like, such little communication, and as an adult, as I am now, like, lack of communication is one of the most frustrating things in stories, because it's like, so much of this could be solved if people just spoke to each other. Like, this is very similar to Romeo and Juliet in that response. Like, Romeo and Juliet is annoying in that way. What's even worse is Othello. I know this isn't about Othello, but Othello does my head in with the lack of communication in that story. So this is the same. Like, if they just spoke to each other, then maybe things could be cleared up, but they just assume what the other one thinks. And also, like, there being fires in the push when the Cullens leave is just so, like, the fact that they were celebrating, like, that's so harsh. Like, I understand why they want them to be gone, but also, really? It just, I forgot they did it, and it made me laugh. It's made me laugh that they've moved, like, the Cullens leave, and then, like, everyone on the reservation's like, let's have a party. So I want to talk about, like, Bella's reckless behaviour. I don't know why I said reckless, like, it is reckless behaviour, but it's so much worse. And I think it 100% is that I am an adult now, and the first time I read this I was 14. I guess it's not that I sympathised with her more as a kid when I was younger, but it's kind of the fact that, like, as an adult I'm more reasonable with things, and I can see the negative sides of things a lot more. Like, not that I ever thought it was good behaviour and I never justified it, but as an adult I'm like, if that was my child or a friend of mine, I would be a lot more
please stop doing this. Like Jessica's reaction I completely understand, whereas when I was younger, my big camera died, so I'm filming on my phone. Hi. Like Jessica's reaction is really reasonable. Like as a teenager I was like, Jessica's being really mean and she's not being understanding, and like she is like not being understanding, but also I completely understand why she would be completely creeped out by the fact that Bella just went over to these strange guys and was gonna, like, it was really dangerous. It's a dangerous situation. I would feel so uncomfortable if I was in a situation and that was happening. It's really scary. She's just willing to like do whatever, like jump off a cliff, learning how to ride these bikes. Like she just, it's just absolute desperation, and it's just a lot more extreme than I remember it being. Now I'm rereading it. I actually watched New Moon because this is the most, I've had lots of visuals of the film when I was reading different bits of this. Like I totally forgot at the very beginning that her nan is there, and it's not her nan, it's her, but I'd forgotten about that, so I wanted to watch it. And the bit where like she goes, this is like the bit where it's like October, November, December, January. I like it in the film, it showed that she wasn't moving, but in this it's just like time passes, and I did actually like the way that was done, because it was obvious that things had happened but they weren't important, whereas in the film it just looks like she's been sat in the same place for 4 months, which obviously she wasn't. And also, so like Bella becoming friends with Jacob and going to get his help with, you know, like the bikes and stuff, it totally starts off as her using Jacob, and I wasn't aware of that as much when I was younger, but now it's really obvious that she's like, I'm gonna use him and like he can do this for me so that I can hear Edward's voice. And then that like friendship and love comes from that, whereas I think I remember it being more that she went to Jacob because he was like a friend rather than like a means to an end situation, if that makes sense, you know what I mean? And I think it surprises Bella a lot more that she actually really likes being with Jacob and like is having feelings for him and stuff. And yeah, it's like, interesting to me. Like it's very much she's using him at the beginning, which is just, I don't know, she's just really not in a good place. And I feel like when I'm reading this time around, I'm more aware that she's not in a good place at all. I also totally forgot that the movie that they are going to see is called Crosshairs and not Face Punch. It's obviously Face Punch in the film, but I just remember like Face Punch being a thing. But the What a Marshmallow quote is in this as well, and I do like that one. It's different, like it's really interesting to read it now as an adult, especially this one, because this really focuses on like Bella's state of mind and what she's dealing with. And I feel like as a teenager you relate to it being that Edward was the most important thing to her, and that's a thing, whereas as an adult, not that I'm not sympathetic because it's awful, and like being broken up with is awful, and him leaving and just taking like Alice away from her, and like these, and Emmett and Carla and Esme, and you know, it's obviously really horrible, but I think you as an adult are more aware of the irresponsibleness of like Edward's part of things and how he reacts to everything, but then also Bella and her like mental state and how reckless and dangerous it is. I think I'm just being a responsible adult and being like, someone needs to like help her and she needs to stop doing these things. Like, if that makes any sense. But it literally feels like I've been reading for ages and I'm like just a little under halfway through. But I want to finish it today, but it just won't end. I've just gotten to the point where Jacob is starting to ignore Bella and he's gotten angry because she's gone to La Push to catch up with him. So hey, my fan is on, so sorry if you can hear that. New Moon update. I've just gotten to the bit where Bella jumps off the cliff, and oh my god, I'd forgotten how many stupid Romeo and Juliet references there are in this. But I dog-eared some pages for updates. What kind of place is this? Could a world really exist where ancient legends went wandering around the borders of tiny insignificant towns? The fact that she's like, what kind of place was this? Like, where is Forks? Like, I'm glad she's questioning it, because she hasn't done before. Like, this is the first time she's actually showed some concern about what's going on around her, which is good, because, you know, even in Twilight she was like, oh yeah, he's a vampire, lol. It's like, I was having this conversation with, so she just jumped off the cliff and I'm on that page now, and I was having this conversation with my friend, like, if I was Charlie, I would be so concerned about Bella. Like, the way that she acts, even though she's like, I'm not, like, you know, I'm fine, like, I'm friends with Jacob, and like, it hurts and stuff, like, she's not okay. Like, she jumps off that cliff and she is not fighting because she can hear and see Edward, and it is scary, and her behaviour is really, like, if I was her parent, and I don't know if this is like me as an adult now rather than being a teenager at the time and being like, yes,
this breakup would be the worst thing in the world, but now I'm like an adult and I'm like, oh my god, like she needs someone to really help her, because she's not, like, she holds herself together every time someone talks about the Cullens. And I'm not even saying it's like a bad thing, like I'm not saying it like, oh, that's really silly, because it's not. Like, she's obviously in a lot of pain, but I feel like there needs to be more concern over Bella because she's not okay. Yeah, I just got into the chapter called Paris. I'm probably, like, to be fair, I'm probably gonna finish it tonight. I am knackered, it's quite late. I finished work quite late today. I've enjoyed New Moon more than I enjoyed Twilight. I don't think I ever, like, I mean, I did read New Moon, but when I was 14, I was like really into Edward and Bella because I made some questionable decisions. So when he left, I was like, I don't care as much. So like, I read it, obviously, but there's bits that I'm picking up on now which I'm like, I wouldn't have remembered that, and I actually enjoyed it. Like, I enjoyed that aspect of it, which is good. And I do like Jacob. He's still not the best, but yeah, I enjoyed it better than Twilight, which is interesting because New Moon was always my least favourite. Eclipse was always my favourite, and apparently I'm gonna hate it. So, according to lots of friends who have reread it and said the same thing, that they used to be their favourite and now they reread it. So I'm intrigued to see what happens with Eclipse, but for now, let's find out what happens with Edward and the Volturi. Was I dying again then? I didn't like it. This wasn't as good as last time. Like, she's not okay, and I feel like that's not explored properly. I feel like Charlie is the only one that shows concern, to be honest. She literally, like, is just thinking about how to move on, how to change the way she's been acting, and then Edward's gonna come back. And she just takes him back immediately. And Charlie is, like, one of his closest friends has died, and Bella's gonna now run away to Italy. Because that's good, isn't it? That's a really good thing to do. Because of miscommunication. She's literally deciding about being with Jacob. Oh my god. I didn't realise. I didn't remember or realise, like, just how close she was to actually taking, like, to being with Jacob. Literally straight away she sees Carlisle's car, straight away she's back. Jacob is not even considered, like, once again we have some of Alice's backstory, figuring out what he's been doing and what the other ones have been doing and where Alice came from, but it's just one paragraph, even though it would be really interesting. It's just one paragraph brushed over, like, all of the Cullens' backstories, and I just want to know more about them. What is this? Oh god, I feel so sorry for Charlie. One thing that I do appreciate about this is that, like, they've had to get on 2 planes and they actually did that and, like, had the connection and stuff, rather than just being like, we had to go to Italy, and then the next chapter was like, we got to Italy around sunset, you know what I mean? Like, it actually is, like, a realistic, I mean, they're going to save a vampire, but, like, you know, it was like, it showed the journey, which was good, because lots of things just brush over it, but it's so convenient that they got to there just before he stepped out into the sun, isn't it? Oh, I actually love Esme. I actually like this bit. Is, like, such bullshit that he's like, you believe me so easily, I'm such a good liar, I had to lie, and you believed me so easily. Like, never thought it'd be so easy to do, to tell you that I didn't love you. Like, of course it would. If you stand in front of someone and be like, I'm leaving, I don't want you anymore, like why would they question it? Like, oh, so annoying. He's like, yeah, it's been like months and months and months of hell, but you believed me when I lied. Like, shut up, Edwin, shut up. Hi, me again. So Charlie's like, you're obviously not gonna see Edward because he put you through hell, and I was put through hell by seeing what you were like, and you just ran off for 3 days when I was at a funeral, so you're not gonna see him. She's like, I'll move out then. Like,
why is she being so horrible to him? Like, he's just so concerned. He is a concerned parent who's had to watch his daughter suffer for months, and the guy that caused the suffering, he obviously doesn't want him to be around his daughter. Why is she like this? He's so manipulative. He's just like, you've been worrying, like, you've wanted to see your mum, you've been worrying about her in your sleep. Like, why doesn't he just tell her the truth? Like, why is he being so shady and gross? Like, just tell her the truth and stop being manipulative and secretive and disgusting and controlling. Man. Edward Cullen. Hi, please ignore the towel, just got out of the bath. I was reading Eclipse, I've dog-eared some bits, as usual. Wasn't going to update you in the bath. So mostly all of these things are literally just that Edward is absolutely possessive as hell and is keeping Bella definitely locked up, and the fact that she's like it's just ridiculous that he won't even, like, he won't let her see her friend. Like, it's just possessive. Like, he literally, I forgot that he makes Alice like kidnap her and won't let her see Jacob. Like, it's just ridiculous. It's so annoying. Like, he's just and she just brushes her off. She's like, oh, I need to be patient with him, it's not this, blah 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 blah. And it's just like, I don't know. Like, she can only go and see, she's like, next time he's away, I'll come back. Like, she can only go when Edward's not going to be there to stop her. And it's just ridiculous. Like, I don't understand why this was ever, like, a ship of mine. Like, I don't understand why I was ever like, yeah, Edward and Bella, love them. Like, he's just really possessive. Like, it's just ridiculous. I don't know. I feel like if I was Bella, like, that's like major red flags for a relationship, when someone doesn't let you be friends with people. Like, when someone is really jealous and doesn't, like, allow you to be friends with someone else, or lets that interfere with you and them. Like, it's ridiculous. Good morning. So I was reading more of Eclipse. Oh dear me. I'm gonna set you up and talk to you properly. That's good. Hi. So I bookmarked some stuff again. I need to start actually doing this like live, but that's fine. I really liked Jasper's backstory. Like, we got a lot of it. It just makes me laugh though, because in the film, he, like, in Eclipse, he suddenly becomes this like southern dude where he's just not been for the first time, and then he's like, me to Jasper Wicklow, man. And I liked his and Alice's little thing about, you kept me waiting long enough. Like, that was really nice, and I thought that was really cute. And I totally forgot about Peter and Charlotte, and obviously that leads into Breaking Dawn. But I actually liked that bit, and I enjoyed it. And again, it goes to my point that the most interesting characters in the story about Edward and Bella are not Edward and Bella. It, like, pissed me off a bit that Jacob kissed Bella and she hit him, so she obviously didn't want him to kiss her. And Charlie's like, good for you, kid. And later on he is like, if someone kisses you against your consent, you should be able to defend yourself and stuff. But that's not the attitude to give. Like, if your daughter is visibly upset to the point where she's hit someone because they've, like, touched her without her consent, you don't praise the guy that did it. Like, Edward's completely right in that. Like, if she wants to do it and she asks you to kiss her, then that's fine, you kiss her. But she, like, no. Like, don't praise that. Charlie shouldn't have praised that, and it's annoying. And Jacob's just very forceful in this book, and, like, obviously Bella does feel something, but she's very much like, I don't want to think about it, and I don't want to feel it, and, like, this is not what I feel at the minute. And I'm with Edward, and he's very much like, well, I don't care. And, like, Edward's actually, like, he's not great. And I've just gotten to the point where he says about Jacob giving her presents, and that's not fair. That's not fair that Jacob gets to give her presents. Can he give her a present? But Edward's, like, at the beginning, he's been, like, very possessive. But his attitude in that situation was actually the correct attitude. And, like, Jacob shouldn't have kissed her if she didn't want him to. But yeah, he's just said, can I give you a charm for your bracelet? And she was like, if this is the only reaction to Jacob's present, I'll take it. And I'm like, you should be able to get presents from your friends. Like, I know that obviously Jacob does feel more for her and she knows that, but he is her friend and she should be able to get presents from her friends without worrying that her boyfriend's going to kick off about it. So yeah, it's just,
you know, it's just a toxic situation. There we go. I've not got much left for this. I'm hopefully going to finish Eclipse. I certainly forgot that, like, Embry's dad is, like, either Quill's dad, Sam's dad, or Billy Black. I totally forgot about that. There is drama on this reservation. But it never gets answered because it's another thing that's interesting but that we never get told about because we're too busy thinking about Bella, you know? Right, I'm watching Eclipse as part of my rewatch during my reread, and bullshit is that the same room that Edward has in the first Twilight film. Are they trying to tell me that bed... Hang on, no, go on there. That bed is bigger than the room in the first film. I've just remembered that the Cullens have a crest in the film. Why? Why is it like a Cullen crest? So bizarre. Why did the filmmakers like make that decision? I really just don't understand. I just don't. Hi, I finished Eclipse. I'm gonna talk about Eclipse in a bit, but I am 70 pages into Breaking Dawn and I literally just went straight onto it. And like, Bella I feel so sorry for Charlie. Like, their whole relationship must seem so weird to him, and he's by himself. Like, they just left to go on their honeymoon, and like Renee has Phil, but like Charlie's by himself, and like he just gotten used to Bella being there and living with him, and like the whole thing must be weird. And I just feel like she kind of, not to treat him badly, but like, I don't know, like I used to love Bella, but I think it's more because I loved Kristen Stewart. Like, she just doesn't treat people very good. She's not very aware that like how she could do that. Like, Edward's controlling and a bit like borderline possessive, but she doesn't treat him great either, and it's just like everything is just toxic. I wasn't expecting to read it and like not like Bella for that reason. Like, I was expecting like Edward to be like he is, and Jacob, because I sort of remembered their behaviour and like, you know, like I did remember it. But like Bella, like she totally uses Jacob. Like, her behaviour in Eclipse when she like kisses him and stuff is like, I don't know, it's just, and then like leaving her family and being like, well, Edward is the most important thing. She's like forgetting her mum and her dad, and I think like Charlie's all by himself, and I don't know, it just makes me like, I'm just a bit like Bella. Like, really think about your priorities here. Like, what are your actual priorities? They're not straight, are they? She's not put her priorities in line, which is Bella. I'm by myself in the doctor's office, which has like never happened. There's a completely empty waiting room, and I'm reading Breaking Dawn, and like I'm on just got to Jacob's perspective, and it's like life sucks and then you die. When I was a teenager, I was like, oh my god, relatable content. It's so like, he's just, this whole section is just not what I remember it being at all. I really liked it when I was a teenager. I liked having John. Hey, very big jump cut. So the last thing I filmed was I was at the doctor's, and then someone walked into the waiting room as I was talking. So I just had a bath, which is why there's a massive towel on my head. Yeah, so I've actually finished Jacob's point of view, which is good. It was weird because I remember really liking it. Like, back when I like first read it, I remember loving that bit. Jacob's like, so it's just so miserable. There's literally a bit where he's like, if I put a gun to my head, like, would it actually kill me or just leave me a big mess to clean up? And it's like, Jacob, like literally someone just doesn't like, he's just Bella just isn't with him, and that's his response. Like, I don't know, it's just. And like Paul and Rachel, I totally forgot about Paul and Rachel. Like, I totally forgot about that. Is it Rachel or Rebecca? I don't remember, but one of Jacob's sisters, which I totally forgot about. But yeah, I've obviously just got to that bit, the imprinting thing. still as gross as it was back in the day. I remember like absolutely hating it back in the day, and I still do, because it's just ridiculous. Like, it's just ridiculous. It's I actually hate it. Like, it's so gross, and it's such a crappy like sellout of, oh, everyone's happy in the end. Like, no, like, it's weird. It's bloody weird. It was weird when Quill did it to Claire, and it's weird when Jacob did it to Renesmee. It's bizarre. It's really bizarre, and I hate it. So yeah, it was cool seeing like the pack, like the sort of a more point of view perspective of the whole pack situation and how the werewolves worked, because it's a really interesting like werewolf dynamic, the way that she's put them together and like how she's written the werewolves. But no, I'm hopefully going to finish Bella's perspective, like the rest of it, tonight or tomorrow, because honestly, like, I'm so done with it. Like, I've just reached a point where I'm just done with this book. Like, I'm so done with it. It's absolutely the worst one. Like, I'm just done. I finished Breaking Dawn. This has been a journey. Oh, I also read The Short Second Life of Britannia, which I still do have as a novella, and I totally forgot to mention that, but I did read that one. I remember really liking that and not wanting to read it back at the day, because I thought, it's all about Bella and I want to know about Bella, but then I remember reading it because I'm all about that bonus content. So I ended up reading it, and I really liked it back then, and I really liked it again this time, and I think that's because people die. It's actually realistic. Like, it's like a realistic outcome rather than a battle where nothing happens. Nothing. And I remember the film, obviously, where we see that flashback thing of Carlisle's head and all that, not flashback, future vision thing. Nothing happens. They gather all of these people, of which we have an Egyptian coven. Why are they vampires that live in Egypt? A very hot, sunny place. And they live there, and they are sparkly vampires. No logical sense. No sense. My friend Sarah pointed this out, and I was reading it and I was like, oh my god, this actually makes no sense. And like, the battle, nothing happens in the battle. Nothing happens. What? Like, I was infuriated by this. The one thing I actually remember loving back in the day that I still really liked now was Kate and Garrett. I actually do really like them. And I did like seeing all the different vampires with their different powers and stuff. Still, why do they all, like, oh my god, nothing happens. Nothing happens in this. Nothing. And also, just want to talk about this a minute. There is no logical reason for Renesmee to grow as fast as she does. She's half human, right? Who grow at a normal rate. She's also half vampires, and vampires don't grow or age. So surely she should either age at a normal rate or very slowly. There's no logical reason for half vampire, half human babies to age quickly. Like, there's no logic in that at all. Like, what? And also, her existence shouldn't really be a thing. Like, why does she exist? Like, Edward is actually dead. Like, okay. Oh my god. And also, like, Charlie then being like, need to know, and then his granddaughter grows like all the time super quickly. It's just bizarre, honestly. And also, Bella's like, I need to have my baby and save my daughter because she's mine and Edward's baby. And then literally the second she's able, they like sod off to their cabin and just leave their child. Their child's just with everyone more than she is with them. Like, it's yeah. So Breaking Dawn, it's a weird one. I didn't enjoy Breaking Dawn, like, at all. Like, it's just so bizarre. It felt different. It was really like weird. Like, the stuff that happens in it is just so pointless and weird and so doesn't make any sense. And also, the whole JJ situation is so weird. Why does he not realise that Jasper, like, oh my god, like, they work so closely to this like shady non-vampire person. I was literally gonna say muggle. God. It's just, this whole book just felt so weird. Just, oh my god, I'm just so done. That concludes my Twilight journey. just be real for a second. I loved Twilight, and it gave me a lot of good things. It gave me friends, it gave me memories. I went to the premiere of Breaking Dawn Part 2 and that was so fun, and I met Robert Pattinson, Kristen Stewart and Taylor Lautner. It gave me loads of cool experiences. It was the reason that I found BookTube and wanted to start making my own videos. You know, it gave me lots of, was my happy place for a really long time, and despite what I think about it now, that's never gonna go away. Like, that happy place was always there for teenage me, and I'm really glad that I had it, and I think that I would be very different if I didn't have it. It got me reading again. It was the reason why I started reading YA again, and why I was introduced to so many other books that weren't just Harry Potter, because before Twilight I just used to read Harry Potter over and over again. This introduced me to books like The Hunger Games and Divergent, which then led me to Shadowhunters. In turn then, like, Lee Bardugger's books and all the other books which I love so much now. So I can't fault it for that. Like, I just can't. And, you know, they're not good books and they are very flawed, and I'm so aware of that as an adult. But I do want to just be like, you know, back in the day they gave me lots of things, and I will always be grateful for Twilight for doing that. So yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this super long video. It's very long. Now on holiday, I am going away for a week, so I'm going to be completely gone for a week because I want to just have a complete chill time and not do any kind of work or anything. This is the last video for just over a week. If you're new here, then I make videos a couple of times a week about books and fandom things, so if you want to stick around and join us, then you can do that. And as usual, all the links to all my other social medias is in the description down below. I hope you guys are doing really, really, really well, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.